presenting for Team Rethread Africa is Charles Oymo, studying development communication at the University of Nairobi in Kenya. You've been waiting so patiently, Charles. Come on up.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Welcome. How are you feeling today?
I'm excited, nervous. I'm the only thing standing between you and lunch, so.
Well, we're very much looking forward to your presentation.
Awesome,
yes.
thank you.
Good luck to you.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks.
So hi everyone, my name is Charles from Rethread Africa. And at Rethread, we are building the future of sustainable materials. So who is certain, with absolute certainty, where their clothes end up at the end of life? Who knows for certain where their clothes end up at the end of life? Okay. I think around 2 people. So instead of telling you, let me show you.
This is Dandora Dump Site, East Africa's largest landfill and the final destination for much of the world's fashion waste. The fashion industry is producing more clothes than ever before, driven by cheap plastic fibers like polyester.
So that's why we exist at Rethread Africa. And at Rethread, we are on a mission to build a waste-free world. You see, back home in Kenya, smallholder farmers are under immense economic pressure to increase their livelihoods. And these same farmers are some of the poorest people you'd come across. And they can't afford to buy more land or buy more farming inputs and fertilizer to increase their production output. So the easiest way for them to increase the economic output is to simply put in as many planting cycles in a single calendar year as possible. How do they do this? Well, it's simple. The fastest and easiest way for them to achieve this is to simply burn whatever remains after they've harvested their crops. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the single largest cause of greenhouse gas emissions in rural communities, affecting both children and the elderly. Meanwhile, urban cities like Nairobi are choking from the mess that is textile waste. You see, the global fashion industry has significantly increased the amount of clothing production driven by a single material, polyester. And yes, while polyester might be flexible, versatile, and readily available, it is also cheap, and it is designed to be discarded to communities that don't have the resource or the infrastructure to handle this waste. And herein lies the real danger. You see, at dump sites like Dandora, these two waste streams mix, organic and plastics, and they rot together, forming toxic mountains that pollute our soil, water, and the very air we breathe. So at Rethread, my team and I saw this problem, and we asked ourselves a simple question. What if? What if we designed a world where nothing goes to waste, where the leftovers of one process becomes the raw materials for the next? And we did just that. We took sugarcane waste, which is the world's most abundant crop residue, and through synthetic biology, we were able to turn it into a synthetic fiber for the fashion industry. But the deeper we went into this problem, the more we realized that plastics are in everything, and that the real opportunity was far bigger than just the fashion industry. So we turned to biotechnology, and we discovered a remarkable solution in nature, biomimicry. You see, we discovered local bacteria strains that when fed with waste like sugarcane bagasse, are able to convert it into PHA biopolymer, a material that looks and performs just like plastic, but is completely home compostable. No toxins, no microplastics, just organic material returning to soil. You see, this process begins in the same smallholder farming communities that I talked about earlier, where we collect post-harvest agricultural residue. In our lab, we identify, inoculate and cultivate local bacteria strains that break down this waste and produce PHA granules. We then palletize these granules and sell them to brands through their manufacturing partners, requiring no switching cost or new equipment. It plugs into existing supply chain. And we already validated this use case. You see, we began in the fashion industry. And today, we are working with one of the UK's largest luxury fashion brands to replace polyester in luxury fashion and high-performance textiles. But closer home, we realized that while high fashion might rule the streets of London and Paris, back home, the way people interact with plastics is through takeout food containers. And so working with one of the food chains in Nairobi Street Kitchen, we worked through their packaging service provider, and we were able to replace the inner film of food takeout boxes, which was being made from polyurethane. And in doing so, we realized something very interesting, that this same polyurethane is also used in the healthcare industry. And we approached a femcare brand in the country that used polyurethane as the outermost layer for the sanitary towels. And together with Ecobana, we have been able to replace the outermost layer of the sanitary towel with our material, making these sanitary towels 100% home compostable, the first on the continent. Through these use cases, we've already generated $15,000 in signed LOIs, and we primarily sell PHA pellets to manufacturers, to brands through their manufacturing partners. You see, waste exists everywhere, but you don't have the resources to be everywhere. So the second revenue stream for us is licensing this technology or this solution. And we are also seeing an incredible opportunity to co-develop products with our partners, giving us our third revenue stream. As we scale, we increase our efficiency. Right now, our profit margin projections are at about 28% at scale. You see, for every ton of PHA we produce, we divert over 3 tons of CO2. We avoid over 3 tons of CO2, divert over 2 tons of waste. But for the smallholder farmers where we started, we are able to increase their income by up to $120 for every ton of waste we have taken from the farmers. We are building a new economic blueprint beyond plastics, where smallholder farmers can increase the economic output from their farms without the increase of their farm sizes or using intensive farming practices. We are formalizing waste pickers and integrating them into our supply chain, where they help us to aggregate and pre-treat this waste. And in a world where every piece of cloth, every takeout card box, and every sanitary towel is made from our material, landfill simply don't exist. Our team has cross-cutting experience in business, biotechnology, and chemistry, and we've been working on this for a while. We are happy and proud to have a complementary advisory board from 3 different industries with industry depth and experience. We've already learned a lot from our Wege Prize journey, and today we are on the cusp of something truly massive. Over the next 12 months, we're on an ambitious mission to divert over 110 tons of waste, avoid 150 tons of CO2 emission, but closer to my heart is create 10 new green jobs. And we're just getting started. So to wrap this up, my name is Charles. I'm from Kenya. The reason why I started this was because I wanted to help smallholder farmers like the ones who grow sugarcane in my community, Migori County. Today we've done that. We've taken sugarcane bagasse and turned it into a material that can be used in fashion, food takeout containers, and even the healthcare industry. So I'm asking you to join us on this journey. And in case you forget who we are Rethread Africa. And this has been the future, a glimpse into the future of materials. Thank you.
Great work, Charles, and Rethread Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll let the judges chat for a second. Yeah, well, so your team has participated in Wege Prize before this.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, so tell us about that and what motivated you to do it again.
Do it again. This is not the first time we are taking part in the Wege Prize, but every single time we've taken part in the Wege Prize, we've gone a step further than we were the last time. And I think that is hugely from the feedback that we received from the judges, from the preliminary stages of this particular competition, that has helped us, I think, every single year be better, but more importantly, is build a solid business case behind the solution. What kept us coming this year around was not because of me, but my colleague Noreen. I think for me, we tried Wege fries. There were far more better solutions. We were not ready yet. And then this year, Noreen was like, let's take another shot. So yeah, here we are.
You were clearly ready. Top 5 out of 90 teams.
Yeah.
Pretty fantastic.
Awesome, thank you. Happy to be back.
Fantastic. It's really great. Okay. Judges, ready to go? Good luck.
Awesome, thank you.
Hi, thank you very much. And I really applaud you guys on developing a technology that's super, super important. PHAs, I think, have a major part to play in a sustainable future. So congratulations on the work you've done so far.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions around how you are differentiated or learning from other PHA manufacturers. So we've seen like a really big excitement around PHA technology. We've also seen companies go under in a couple in recent years. So I'm curious to know what learnings you're taking and what potential differentiators. So you talked about local bacteria strains, which I'm really curious about, if there's something particular there on your PHA development. So that's the first question. And then in terms of, you talked a lot about the different manufacturing processes that you are interested in interfacing with. So PHA can be used for polyester fiber substitutes, absolutely, as well as films like the sanitary pad backing, in addition to extrusion for thermoplastics, for instance. So I'm curious, but each one of those processes changes the optimization of your material for interfacing with that. So how do you see your roadmap vis-a-vis investing in or optimizing your material for manufacturing processes that you think are like the most important to specialize in first, given there's huge amounts of opportunity, but obviously the actual development of the material has to kind of choose a lane first in order to make sure that you're fitting in with those manufacturing processes.
Yeah, so thank you so much for those questions, Alyssa. I think number one, I agree with you. There have been a couple of attempts and iterations at PHA as a single-use material. I think some of the things as an industry we got wrong in the early days was looking at PHA as a standalone material. And reality is we've not gotten there yet, so it's not there yet. So for us, we're looking at PHA as a substitute to PLA or other or PU in material use cases, and that's why we have varied use cases. Right now, how we arrive at our end products, for us, we simply make PHA pellets. We are working with recipe from, I think you know Pond Global, from the Netherlands. So Pond Global co-develops our material to the end use cases. So that helps us in terms of the specific material recipes. In fact, if you think about use cases in the fashion industry, in the EU, for example, where we have a fashion brand we are working with, you simply can't label the piece of cloth that is made from PHA because that's not a classification that exists. So we are working with recipes that exist. That's the learning that we are having. In terms of optimization, right now we have very niche partners we work with and very small brands. When we began, we had very lofty ambitions, and we were writing to every big fashion brand we knew, and we realized smaller brands help us go further. So it's very expensive end-to-end for us before we're able to close a partnership. It costs us about $12,000 right now, and that's because we need to test with that particular use case in mind, with a particular brand in mind, instead of just developing. We don't have the infrastructure or the resource to just develop for the market and then throw it out there. So it's brand-driven through their partners. Does that answer the question?
Can I just ask a clarifying? So you said there was problems with developing it as a standalone material. So you're developing it as a blend or as a introduction of an ingredient in a blend?
So we develop PHA as a material, and then we use compounding partners like Pond Global, who then develop end products with it. PHA is still very brittle to be a standalone material. It has its downfalls, which also make it so great because that make it home compostable, shorter shelf life, and stuff like that,
Thank you.
Hi,
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Great presentation. Yeah. I loved it. I think you've slightly or partly answered my question, but I'm going to ask it again to see if there's any more information we can get from it. It appears to me that you've got a really kind of broad base of applications that the PHA can be applied to, looking from fashion industry right through to the medical industry. And I guess, you know, it's going to be dependent upon regulations and certifications as to whether the material is going to be able to be applied to those, in particular the healthcare industry, which is really interesting. So I can see why you're focusing on the fashion industry first. And I was just wondering, and I think you might have partly answered this one, but I'd love to hear more about it, is who are you currently working with? Who's really interested in this, and where's the opportunity for you in the next stages of your development of your idea?
Yeah, in terms of material use cases, healthcare and the food industry is still just testing with brands who are willing to take the risk. They are still not commercial products yet. Particularly for the healthcare industry, we might think it's ready, but then regulation is not there yet, particularly for our country. Fashion industry is the commercial ready use case for us at this point. And the ideal client, because right now for us, we have to pay farmers for this waste. There's a cost for production. So any new material starts in high-end or luxury fashion. Before then, we are able to figure out the cost, the cost and the economics, and then it trickles down to everyday use cases. The partners we have in the fashion industry, or the brand we are working with in the fashion industry, is in luxury fashion. So that's where we are starting at. Yeah.
I got a question for you. Sugarcane bagasse is not a waste product because there's so many uses. And you use in cogeneration of electricity and heat it up because when you are in the sugar mill, you know, that's a source of energy most. And the remnant can go to composting and it goes back to the soil, you know. So, could you please describe the sugar industry in your country and how you get the bagasse and who gives it to you?
Thank you. Good question. I think it boils down to context. For us, bagasse, yes, sugar mills are designed to use bagasse, part of the bagasse, to heat up their boiler steams, which then runs the facility, right? But then for the partners we have, we're working with a particular sugar mill that's located in southern Kenya. It's called Sony Sugar. And our partnership with them, they produce about 3 tons of bagasse every single day. They can't even consume half of that. So a huge chunk of bagasse remains. If I had the slides up, we had an image where we actually were at the mill, and there's a huge, you'd be forgiven for thinking that's a hill, but that's just piles of bagasse. And what happens to bagasse is, once bagasse has been stored in a huge heap and it gets rained on, it can't easily decompose because it stays there as just a hill. So we get bagasse from the sugar mill. How does then this cascade down to the smallholder farmer? When farmers harvest their sugarcane, it gets weighed. So every single farmer is able to know how much sugarcane did I produce. From the sugarcane, the amount, from the net weight of the cane that comes from the farm, the amount that's used for sugar is about 30 or 33% of that of the weight. Whatever remains is hemicellulose and all other materials, this fibrous material. So yes, in Kenya particularly, there is abundance of sugarcane bagasse. We've seen people use it just to validate that use case. We've seen people try to use it to make ethanol, bioethanol. People have used it to try and make charcoal briquettes, but the waste still exists. There's still a lot of waste that still exists that's presently not being used.
If I recall, you said 3 tons?
Yeah.
But again, I mean, sugarcane production is 170 tons in 1 hectare. So 3 tons bagasse is like 2,000 square meter of land.
Yeah. So the average yield for sugarcane in Migori, particularly where we are presently based, is a farmer is able to gain anything from 8 to 40 tons. This depends on the farming practices from their sizes of land. The sizes of land for a smallholder farmer in that particular part of the country is about 1.5 acres, just to create that perspective. So While the farmers harvesting this bagasse, there is a huge amount of this bagasse, of this sugarcane, that the mill doesn't take in because of their quality checks. Yeah. So the amount that ends up being processed ends up being about 3 tons of bagasse waste for this particular mill per day. Yeah.
Thank you, Charles. I just had one quick question as we're cutting down just before lunch.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the fashion industry because I loved your the other examples that you showed us. But now, one question that sort of came to mind was so if you're using it in clothing, the clothing needs to be washed. Like, is it going to break down? Is that what you're still working with the fashion industry in terms of its we want it to break down, but we don't want it to break down too soon.
Too soon.
Right?
Yeah.
So could you tell me some more about what you're working on? Are you going more for, say, like purses or certain things that are of stiffer material? Are you able to make, or are you working toward making something more like a cotton or a synthetic blend?
So the first image that we had on the slide, our title, our cover slide, that's actually a model at Dandora dam site putting on a piece of cloth that's made from our material. So we are making clothes that actually people can wear. That was the first iteration. For the brands we're working with, we've not tested enough to see what's the exact period of time because it's a material blend. It's not purely PHA. So I'm not able to like give you that fact right now and say it washes down. But the percentage of PHA is still about 23% of the entire material composition. So still on the lower side. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great work. Thank you. Thanks, judges. Great job, Charles.